Hello, my name is John Wilson, and I want to talk to you today about something that's happened in the last 8 years to which all of you will benefit. And that is, 8 years ago I started on a project at home just on my own. I'm an unemployed engineer, and I sat with his drawings and design for about 8 months, and eventually I come to the conclusion of how it would work. To seek reassurance that I had done what I thought I'd done, I went to see a professor of mathematics who went through the design, and I've got all of his calculations and figures here. And he said, in the mechanical structure of the device and the movement it obtains, he done all the calculations of that, and he said it would work. But the actual forces in which create the movement in this device, he was not sure of. So therefore, on the mechanical side, yes. So after that I went to see a PhD of science, and I explained to him the movement of this force, and he verified that and said yes, it would move continuous. But he said, I don't know nothing about mechanics, but either side they'd give me the two variants on what I was seeking. And they both said to me that this now needs to be looked at. So where do you take it? You just go and produce it? And then the answer is no. So I thought the best place to be would be as the leader of our country. So I wrote, and at the time it was Gordon Brown, and I started to write to him, and I just asked him to get somebody to look at it. I didn't say I'd done it, I didn't say I produced it, I just asked him to verify what I think I found. And I wrote to him for 6 months, and I never got a reply. I then wrote to David Cameron, because he'd come into number 10. And I started the process of writing to him every month, 2 months. And after about a year I got no reply, and then I saw various organisations on the telly, and I thought I will ask them. So I wrote to UNFCCC, Climate Control, Greenpeace, various other organisations that deal with the climate of this planet. I got no replies. I then wrote to the power companies of this country and said to them, this is what I've got, could you have a look at it? Nothing. I then wrote to world leaders, President Obama, Francois Hollande, Merkel, Putin, Xiaoqing in China, whatever his name is. And I wrote to all these people just saying, I think I've done something here, would you look at it? And I got no replies. So then I thought to myself, the onset of this, if it is what I think it is, would do immense damage to the economies of the world. So I then wrote to Mark Carney, and I said, would you get somebody to look at this? I got no replies. And over a period of time I've got nearly 400 mails and 300 letters which I've got as proof, plus the findings of the professor and the PhD, all to hand, that can be shown to anyone. And in the process I was still writing to the Prime Minister, and then I saw President Obama stand in France, and he stated that we are the world leaders in looking at new ideas, new concepts, entrepreneurs. And I'd been writing to him for nearly a year, and I thought it was rather strange that he's standing there saying this. I'd mailed him many times. I even paid, and I'm unemployed, but I paid £100 and had the mail tracked all the way to the White House. I've even got the signature of the man who stood there and received that package. And there he was standing in France saying he's the world leader, and I thought to myself, well, you can't read then. And then after him came our Prime Minister, David Cameron. He stood there and bleated on about how good Britain was at finding new ways. And I've been writing to him for a couple of years. And then stood up Prince Charles, and he stood there and he said the words, "If Earth was a patient, we would be treating her now. But we must all work together to find a way to solve this." So when he came back to England, I wrote to him, and I've got one letter out of the 700 that I've written, emails and letters, one letter from Clarence House. And it states on it that the Prince of Wales cannot get involved, but he wishes you the best of luck. And I thought to myself, well, why did you stand in Paris and say this? We must all work together, if you don't work together. And the thing is, what credibility do you show the world for being our future king? You're not straight, you're not true. So therefore, after all of this time, and now it's got to the stage where I'm writing to Theresa May and Donald Trump, it must emphasise one thing, that either admin look at it, think, oh, it's a hoax, let's get rid of it, and it's not passed on, or the leaders are in fact born liars. They don't read and understand anything. What they say on stage is opposite to what they do in their office. So this design is totally carbon-free power, and I'd like to take the opportunity of explaining that to you. So I'll start by going back, and we will talk about energy in relation to Einstein and Newton. Let's start off with Einstein. Einstein came up with the phrase E equals mc squared, and then he comes up with his Einstein's theory of relativity. If you look up the word relativity, relativity means without fact. So then it was proclaimed at that point that the gravitational energy and the sun's thermal energy, and I listened to this, and then I read about Newton, and Newton stated that there's thermal energy from the sun, there's gravitational energy from Earth, and then there's potential energy of that item on the edge, there's kinetic energy in my arm, and I'm sorry, but I disagree, and I'd like to explain why I disagree. I believe from the very bottoms of our oceans right the way through to the top to our atmosphere, until we get to the stratosphere of our planet, all of that, and then all of space, every single molecule has in it pure energy. Now whether that molecule of energy is fused with water on Earth or hydrogen, whatever it's fused with, the core of it is pure energy. And whereas energy is mixed with water, so it's at the bottom, then you've got atmosphere, which is 78% hydrogen, 21% oxygen, 1% argon, or as they say. But then you get to the stratosphere, and at the stratosphere you've got our pressure of Earth is leaving out, and then you've got the vacuum of space is containing it. And where them two sets of molecules, totally different, meet, there is no straight line, they meet, and they're bouncing off of each other. So they are compaction of molecules of energy of space, and expansion of the molecules here on Earth. The poundage of pressure per molecule on this planet is 15 pounds per square inch. So therefore, if you take pressure above that, so it's a pressure force, or below it, it becomes a vacuum force. And them two forces, not energies, forces, makes our Earth turn round. It makes it rotate. And so the heat from the sun, that massive ball of flame in the middle of our universe, is contained and held there by energy itself. And then the disbursement of that energy, taking that heat away, disbursement heat, it flies out in all different directions from the sun. And when it gets to us, the central point, which is our equator, the actual atoms or molecules of energy, disbursement of heat, actually hit our centre Earth and they compound it and make it hot. The other atoms or molecules of air, vacuum, going over the top and the bottom of our Earth, they are going over such a speed, therefore it's cooler. The distance between the top of Earth and the middle of Earth in relation to the Sun, which is 93 million miles away, the degree of coldness couldn't happen. So therefore the molecules of atmosphere, of space, are zimming over the top and bottom. So therefore they're colder. The middle, where there's nowhere else for them molecules of space to hit, is the centre. They're absorbed by the Earth. And then that creates a stratosphere around us. And all the molecules inside that, which have fused with hydrogen and oxygen, they're in a dilemma, because all of space, in relation to it all being energy, the simplest way to put it is, it enjoys the simple life. It wants an equilibrium of peace, serenity. And so therefore the heat from the sun, it disperses that. We are all set in our place, our orbits in space, and there's an equilibrium there between the gravity forces and energy itself. But when you come inside our stratosphere, then you've got the force of the heat disbursement from the sun is entering that domain. And so therefore, in the middle it's hot, at the top it's cooler. And them two forces are trying to find an equilibrium of serenity, peace. So therefore, in that process, it creates cyclones, tornadoes, hurricanes, whatever disturbance there is in the atmosphere, from top to middle, is trying to find that balance. And so those two forces never stop. The continuum of our pressure on Earth, a force of pressure above 15 pound, and the vacuum of space below 15 pound, are the continuum of life on Earth. And what I've done is I've took them two and put them in a rotational device. Now all these letters I've written to all these leaders, somewhere in that process somebody has turned around and said it's not possible, but they don't answer. So therefore their assumption is it's not possible. So therefore I am going to show you how it works, and then they can either come up with the facts that it won't work and this is the reason why, or they've got to learn to accept that there is a different way. Before we go any further, I do not condone Newton, Einstein, Faraday, Kepler, them people. I personally think that when they was releasing their information, their findings, they was in a time where evolution, the brains of evolution, could not take any more. And so they was laid down in like law, Newton's law, but they wasn't. I believed them four and others, they started us off on a journey, and the journey was, they did the foundations to what energy is. And they started us, and we, as the next generations of people, we must look at them, take their learning, not demand that they're in statute law. They're not theories no more, they're not assumptions. These can be proven. So therefore we move forward as a people. And the time for people to say, no, it won't work, then you've got to prove it doesn't work. Because I stand there and say, I think that it shouldn't be tested. And then all of a sudden we now proved it. Shouldn't it be categorised and say, that's fair enough, he's done it. Now we look at it. So what I'd like to do, I'm going to have a drink, because this filming makes your throat dry. So I'll come back in 1 second and I'll explain my device. And now energy, molecular energy, moves, and we all live in that. We all survive in that, and we must exist in that. And what we're doing to our planet at the moment, it's like a greenhouse. There is a greenhouse which is the chamber of Earth, and everything we do in it is like turning the heater up in your greenhouse. You turn it up too high and the carbons will kill the flowers. But on Earth, the carbons, the flowers, are us. So I'll be back in 2 minutes.